Will AI improve our lives or exterminate the species? What would it take to abolish poverty? Are you eating enough fermented foods? These are some of the questions we've tackled recently on The Next Big Idea. I'm Rufus Griscom, and every week I sit down with the world's leading thinkers for in-depth conversations that will help you live, work, and play smarter. Follow The Next Big Idea wherever you get your podcasts.
Did you know that small and medium businesses make up 98% of the global economy, but most B2B marketers still treat them as a one-size-fits-all? LinkedIn's Meet the SMB report reveals why that's a missed opportunity and how you can reach these fast-moving decision makers effectively. Learn more at linkedin.com/meet-the-SMB.
Welcome to the American Negotiation Institute's podcast, where we will teach you the skills you need to get more out of life. And now your host, Kwame Christian.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Negotiate Anything. I'm Kwame Christian. I'm a business lawyer and I am passionate about teaching business professionals like you the keys to negotiation and persuasion. This podcast is produced by the American Negotiation Institute, where we offer live negotiation trainings and one-on-one coaching for professionals that want to learn how to communicate confidently and persuasively. Our guest today is Claire Coder. She is the founder and CEO of AuntFlo, which is a buy one, give one subscription box for 100% cotton tampons and pads. Claire is the definition of a young hustler. She is absolutely everywhere. Magazines, social media, news articles, and now the newest reality TV show on TLC. I wanted to get her on the show not only because she's one of my favorite clients, but also because she has mastered the art of free PR. In today's episode, she's going to share some of her persuasion techniques that she used to get high-quality media exposure at no expense. I know you're going to get a lot out of this one, so without further ado, let's jump into the interview. Claire, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kwame. I'm excited to be here.
So how about you get us started by telling us a little bit about your business and actually a little bit about how we met too?
Yes, definitely. So my name's Claire and I am the 20-year-old founder and CEO of AuntFlo. AuntFlo is a buy one, give one subscription box for 100% cotton tampons and pads. And I actually met Kwame in the startup scene here in Columbus, Ohio. I was really trying to figure out how to navigate this business area and business space. I was looking for somebody to guide me, and Kwame kind of came into my life. He had an awesome energy about him, and I was like, this guy needs to help me. And we call our people that identify as male that want to be involved flow bros. And Kwame is like the best flow bro. He's like all about menstruation and like negotiating for menstruation and all of that. So Kwame, you're an awesome flow bro, friend.
Thank you. I've never been described as somebody who is all about menstruation, but from you, I take that as a compliment. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I think there's different degrees of all about menstruation. And I mean, for somebody that has never menstruated before, I feel like you're pretty open to it and pretty excited about it.
Thank you. And so
You're welcome.
Now, audience, now you can see why I love Claire. The energy she brings is awesome, and she has an infectious personality. And now we're going to see how this infectious personality has been so beneficial to her business because she's doing some really cool things. So can you tell us a little bit about the TLC opportunity?
Yeah, so really excited. AuntFlo has had the opportunity, or I have had the opportunity to be on a new television show called Girl Starter, and it is going to be premiering on TLC April 28th, and it'll be on TLC every Friday night starting April 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the show is awesome. It is 8 girls that are all competing to win $100,000 for their new business ideas. The show is sponsored by Staples, and it is really an amazing opportunity to encourage young women and young girls to dream and act on those dreams and really get the job done.
That is so cool. And were you able to use any negotiation or persuasion techniques to move forward in the business, in the competition? Are there any that we should keep our eye out on for when we're watching?
First episode, you will see how persuasive I am. I can't share too much about it, but we were selling something, and I was using a lot of persuasive techniques to sell and to encourage, or also really just get people to buy something that I'm not allowed to share yet. But definitely keep your eye out. And the whole show is all about negotiating and persuasion. There's an undertone of negotiation and persuasion, I think, everywhere in everything that we do as entrepreneurs.
I love it. That is so cool. So everybody check it out. It's going to be really awesome to see Claire wheeling and dealing on this show. I could only imagine. I'm pumped for that.
I am too. I can't wait to see it.
Cool. So one of the things I wanted us to talk about was your media strategy, because you, my friend, are everywhere. And now TLC, for example. It's really cool. But when we were speaking about a month ago, I was really fascinated and impressed with how you were able to strategically get free publicity using some of these persuasion techniques. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So just a little bit of background. So we launched sales in November of 2016. And that being said, right now, we've been in business for around 5 months. And in 5 months, we've been featured in over 50 local and national news pieces, news publications. We haven't spent $1 on marketing. It's all just been earned media. And that earned media has been able to elevate us as a company and elevate us as a brand and a primary educator in the industry. So the way that we were able to do this is, of course, through negotiation. And of course, like, people think, okay, PR, like, what are you negotiating? And PR is something that a lot of businesses kind of just hire somebody else to do, like hire a PR company or hire like an intern or something. But there are a lot of tricks that I kind of created and learned that can really work well. And I'm happy to share those too. Is this a good time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So regarding the negotiation and persuasion kind of stuff. So the strategy that I use is basically the stalker strategy. And it sounds kind of bad, but basically what I did for Aunt Flo is we kind of identified the publications that we wanted to be featured in. So our target market is menstruating women ages 25 to around 45. So what are they reading? They're reading BuzzFeed, they're reading Bustle, they're reading Refinery 29, InStyle, Teen Vogue, and Cosmopolitan. So we've made our list of huge features that we want to be in. And then we started the stalking strategy. So we found bloggers that would write about something similar to our industry. So maybe the tax on tampons. We would find that blogger, and you could typically find the author, and then you can find them on Twitter, find them on Instagram, find them on LinkedIn. And once you find them on LinkedIn, you can then get their email address. And so there's like this 6-step approach. And Kwame, I think we've talked about it before. It typically takes 6 pings or 6 hits to get somebody to respond to you. So that might be emailing them, tweeting at them, following them on Instagram, like do something to them 6 times for them to notice. And so basically that was the strategy. So we found them, we would find them on Twitter, tweet at them, comment about their blog, and then kind of do a small pitch like, hey, have you heard about this really cool company doing XYZ? And we would find something that would engage them. So each of our bloggers or each of the people that would write about us, we would send them basically like a period pack. So we'd send them like a free box of tampons, a free like badge pack. Like we have some really cool, outrageous badges with ovaries on them. Is awesome. And then like a poster or something. To them, that's a lot. That's amazing. And to us, free publicity, getting blasted out to hundreds of thousands of people is remarkable. And it pays for the like $20 that we put into making a period pack for them. So it's really just figuring out what they want and what we want, and figuring out how we can play to their wants and to our wants. So, oh, you want a free box of tampons? Great. We'll send you a free box of tampons, and here is something that you can share. Another quick tip that I learned. So first of all, press releases are so out. Like, I don't know, we've never used a press release. We always just kind of cater our story in a 2-paragraph part of an email. And then in addition to that, we also learned that a lot of writers are actually freelance writers that write for a variety of different places, and they get paid per story. So they could get paid between $25 to $150 for each story they submit. But me, as a person that has never written for that blog before, it might be really hard to get my story published. So if we write a story and give it to that author, then she can not spend any time writing for us. We write exactly what we want to be said, and we have it in our language and everything. And then they just put their name on it and it's blasted out. Now, efficacy might be a little bit low on who actually wrote it, but for us, we want our story blasted, and for her or for him, for the writer, they want $125 for the story. So it's really understanding what they want and what we want, and how can we make both of the worlds collide.
Hey you, I'm Andrew Seaman. Do you want a new job? Or do you want to move forward in your career? Well, you should listen to my weekly show called Get Hired with Andrew Seaman. We talk about it all, and it's waiting for you, yes you, wherever you get your podcasts.
Small and medium businesses don't have time to waste, and neither do marketers trying to reach them. On LinkedIn, more SMB decision makers are actively looking for new solutions to help them grow, whether it's software or financial services. Our Meet the SMB report breaks down how these businesses buy and what really influences their choices. Learn more at linkedin.com/meet-the-SMB. That's linkedin.com/meet-the-SMB.
This is incredible. And this is really cool. So go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, these are the things that if you Google it, nobody talks about it or nobody shares about it, because PR companies don't want people to know, and so they don't share these hacks. But then entrepreneurs don't know, and so you have to create your own ways. That's entrepreneurship. And so I really just kind of had to figure it out as I went along. And it's not a hard process. I mean, some people have already figured it out, and once you figure it out, it's just like a plug and chug kind of thing.
Absolutely. Man, this is so cool. Okay, so there are 3 nerd things I want to pull out of this. So the first 2 are based on psychology. The last one is pure negotiation strategy. So the first one I want to point out is the mere exposure effect, which is a social psychological principle where simply being exposed to something multiple times makes you like it more. And so the fact that you are being strategic about pinging people at least 6 times on different social media platforms is really smart, because simply exposing yourself to them, allowing them to know you, makes them like you more and like your story more and like your product more, simply because they see you more often. So that's really, really smart. And then also, you're triggering the norm of reciprocity, which is another social psychological principle where you give something to somebody and then they feel a sense of psychological debt to you. And so even if you know what the purpose of the gift was, we are humans, it is still persuasive. And so you are coupling the mere exposure effect with the norm of reciprocity. They feel more obligated to give you something in return. And then lastly, you take the time, and this is a negotiation strategy, to know your audience. You do the research. And so I really smiled to myself when you said you stalk them, because I do the same thing in negotiation. The listeners might remember me talking about the dating test. You need to learn as much about the person with whom you're negotiating as if you were trying to date them. You use the stalking test and I use the dating test. So we're kindred spirits in that way.
Yes, definitely.
This is so smart. So what are the biggest publications you've been in?
So to listeners, we've been in Forbes and Teen Vogue and InStyle, and those are big names. But the biggest return for us was actually being featured in Hello Giggles. And Hello Giggles is kind of think of Refinery 29, BuzzFeed, that style. But what was wild about the Hello Giggles article is the writer took a very different approach to our story. And so instead of focusing on the buy one, give one, or the 20-year-old founder, or the high quality products, they actually took part of our story that I really speak loudly about that hasn't really been published, but that's the fact that we don't use the term feminine hygiene. We use the term menstrual products. It's more inclusive. It doesn't continue the taboo that menstruation is dirty because hygiene, dirty, like yuck, because menstruation isn't dirty, it's natural. And then, of course, feminine is not really inclusive. So all of that combined, she really focused on that portion. And from that article alone, more people started to write about us because they were like, wow, this is something that we haven't heard of. Like, people have heard of the buy one, give one. People have heard that, like, typical tampons have chlorine and bleach and whatever. And people have heard about 20-year-old founders. But we are the only company that identifies as a menstrual product company. So this story was then shared by Zoe Deschanel and picked up by other writers as well, and actually got us a decent amount of new subscribers to our company as well. So it was just really interesting to be able to share a news story that really grabbed the attention of new readers. One thing that I will also note too is once you start to share these stories through writers, you create a connection with those writers and you can foster that connection. So the writer that wrote about us in Hello Giggles, we can now go back to her and be like, oh, we're also launching this new thing. Here is a story that we wrote. Would you be interested in sharing it? And since we already sent her a gift, and it's like that debt thing that you were talking about, since we already sent her a gift, since we already showed her that our articles are shareable and unique and exciting, she's like, oh my God, of course I'll write about you again. And then we just created a super valuable connection for her repertoire and for our opportunity as a company to continue to grow.
I love it. This is really deep. It's so funny that this point that you made about the difference between a feminine hygiene product and using the term menstrual product, this was even over my head, and I did your trademarks. And what's funny is, like, I now remember, because when I did the trademarks, we had to do it within the category of feminine hygiene products. But now that you say that, it makes sense. Why do we use the term hygiene? And why does it need to be feminine? Because some girls might not identify with the term feminine.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, what does feminine hygiene even mean? Like, that could really be anything if you think about it. It's not really descriptive at all. So that's really why we needed to make that movement as well.
Absolutely. You should make a pitch to the USPTO and see if they'll change the category.
Yes, I should do that. That'd be great. And then we could negotiate there.
That would be cool. Okay, good deal. And now one of the things that you're working on is figuring out the manufacturing side. Can you tell the audience a few of the considerations you have there with regard to making sure you're getting the best deal and negotiating with potential manufacturers?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm sure there's listeners that are listening that have tried to start a product company or something other than software where you actually have to get something made. And a lot of people don't, if they're in the tech world, they don't think about this, or they disregard how difficult it is to get the attention of a large manufacturer, because you're asking for minimum order quantities, you're asking all of these very simplistic questions. Then they have like people that are ordering like 30 million pieces. And so of course they're going to respond to them first. So you're constantly put on the back burner. So we have really had struggled to get the attention of manufacturers that could make our 100% cotton, FDA regulated, biodegradable tampons and pads. So when doing this, I would go online and I would research manufacturers. And there's actually really only two large manufacturers that have all of the qualifications that we're looking for in a product. And so, of course, I'm reaching out to these manufacturers, and there's a language barrier. So I'm typing things in Google Translate and like translating it and then sending it via email, and all of that's going on. But there are a few things that's really stood out to figure out how to get the attention of these manufacturers. And Kwame, you actually brought this to light, and it's the leverage that you have to have. So how can you really demonstrate that you are a company and not just like, for me, not just like a 20-year-old girl that dropped out of college to talk about tampons for a living? Like, how can you show to the manufacturer that you are legitimate and that you are going to be able to provide them business for years to come? And so the leverage that we've had is, of course, our media. So we've really leaned heavily on being featured in over 50 local and national news publications. And now we're really leaning on this new TLC television show. And right now, maybe we still are asking for the minimum order quantities, but at least we have something to show that we are legitimate. And I think the other really difficult part about communicating with these manufacturers that are overseas is, of course, they're trying to get the best bang for their buck, and we are too. And Kwame, I think you also mentioned, like, the first pricing sheets are always just suggestions. And this I really took to heart. And you also talked about how these suggestions can be put against other suggestions. And you can say, like, oh, well, manufacturer X is offering me the price of 10 cents per piece, while manufacturer Y is offering me at 8 cents per piece. And whether or not they're actually offering that, you can kind of like play them and see, like, will they actually drop and how much can you push? And so I think that those are a lot of different things to consider when discovering manufacturing opportunities.
Exactly. Yeah, because the thing is, everybody in the manufacturing game, they know each other, so they're familiar. And so it's like, if you go to their rivals, they're going to be incentivized to try and beat their rivals. And so if you show them the pricing sheet saying, hey, company X did this, what can you do for me? They understand that this is a business decision. And like I said, the the first term sheets that they give you are kind of just suggestions. That's where we're starting it off. But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that, and they think prices are set in stone. So they just go with the cheapest one off the bat. But if you play them off of each other, you can save some serious dollars.
Right. And that, Kwame, that's what we're actually working on right now, too, you and I together. So I really do appreciate your insight and guidance on that, and really helping understand how we can use our leverage and use the other manufacturers as a way to get more leverage and more opportunity to lower our final cost.
Exactly. And another thing that we spoke about last time we talked was the fact that the bigger the number, the more important the small numbers become. So I know day to day at my house, sometimes I find pennies and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I throw the pennies away. I'm like, I'm not going to save this penny. It would cost me at least 2 cents of stress to guard this penny. So I'm going to throw it away.
Wait, time out. Did you just say you throw away pennies? Like, you literally throw them in the trash can?
If I'm cleaning, my goal is to clean, and pennies get in the way. So I throw them away. I'm like, whatever, go away, penny. And so, but if I were a company though, and we're talking about pennies, that is significant, because over the course of time, those pennies add up to, at the end of the year, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars if you're not paying attention. And so there is a lot of value in paying close attention to these small numbers in big negotiations.
Definitely. I mean, like right now, our cost per piece is between 8 to 15 cents. And like, if you're just throwing away pennies, like that difference of 7 cents, like whatever, here and there. But since we're selling like 100,000 tampons at a time, that can easily change. That can change our business model, and we can be profiting between a range now between another $2,000 to $5,000. And so that does really, really add up.
Exactly. This is cool. Well, I am happy for you, because this is just the start. You've been at this for what, a year and a half now or something like that?
Yeah, I first pitched the idea in October of 2015, and then we launched sales just about 1 year later in November of 2016. And so now we've been in business, full sales, for about 5 months. So still very, very young and working out a lot of different things, but we are flowing forward rapidly.
That is awesome. Okay, so before you go, let's give one piece of parting advice. What advice would you have for fellow entrepreneurs?
Honestly, it's one of those things where, like, you just got to Google it. Like, right now we have so many different learning opportunities, and people always ask me, like, how did you figure out this? Or how did you learn how to do this? And who did you talk to for this? And I'm like, you know what? Just Google it. Like, nobody is going to give you all the answers. And right now, more than ever, we have this huge search engine that can go through all of these databases and explore all of these different things that's basically doing the work for you. So just Google it. That's my advice.
I love it. Okay. And how can listeners stay in touch with you?
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, if you are interested in getting involved with Aunt Flo, menstruating or not, you can subscribe, get a box of tampons and pads delivered. You can buy some Aunt Flo swag. We have some really cool badges. You can also donate as well to support menstruators in need in the United States. If you want to connect with me and Aunt Flo, you can tweet at us at GoAuntFlo. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then, of course, you can always shoot me an email at claire@auntflo.org. That is Flo with a W and Claire with an AIRE.
Perfect. Oh, and before you go too, explain too the Give One model too, because I know when you told me about the passion and reason behind giving away a tampon, I didn't understand why that was such a big deal. So I think that would be cool if you could educate the audience on that point too before you go.
Yeah, definitely. So, tampons and pads are not covered by WIC. They aren't covered by food stamps. I mean, in 38 states right now, they're taxed with a luxury tax. And so if you are an individual that menstruates that's living at or below the poverty line, you're having to choose between food and tampons and pads, because right now the average cost for a monthly supply is around $7. And that is 4 meals for somebody that's living at or below the poverty line. And if they aren't covered by WIC or any government assistance programs, it's really, really hard to get access to these basic need products. Just imagine if you are running and you fall down and you scrape your knee and you're gushing out blood and can't get a Band-Aid, that is basically menstruation, but for 7 days a month. So that's why it's so important to be able to offer these products. And, it's one of those things that people don't talk about. And so they don't think about making those donations, and they don't think about offering them and providing them. And so that's why I am founded Aunt Flo, so we can not only just offer products, but start the conversation so that we can really make the change.
I love it. Well, we appreciate the work that you do, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, Kwame, and keep negotiating away.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you're finding this information helpful, please leave a review and subscribe. My goal is to teach these skills to as many people as possible, and leaving a review helps our search results, which helps us to reach more people. And remember, negotiation is where persuasion and problem solving meet. So if you ever have any questions or need help with specific situations, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you in the next one.